Holocaust separations were hellish, but love endured via stolen moments or notes. Helen and David, per their story, met in Auschwitz, their bond a quiet rebellion, the air thick with the murmur of plans and the smell of despair. They probably muttered, "Meet me by the latrine," but watch for guards, their love a lifeline in horror. Survival was rare, but their story, like many, shows love's tenacity. The air tense with the hope of reunion and the weight of loss. Life around this was nightmarish. Camps hummed with whispers of loved ones, the air heavy with the thud of boots and the scent of ash. Survivors shared stories, their hands steady, the air warm with the rustle of paper and the effort of remembering. Neighbors, scattered by war, swapped tailies, the air thick with the smell of smoke and the kind of laughter you get when love defies death. The community loved their resilience, whispering over bread about they made it, the air thick with fumes and the kind of tears you get when love's a miracle. Their love was a spark, and as the attic fades, let's shift to Revolutionary War separations, where love met redcoats. Picture yourself in a drafty colonial cabin in Virginia, 1776. The air heavy with the scent of gunpowder, homespun, and the faint whiff of a patriot's unwashed breeches. A wife's scribbling a letter to her husband at Valley Forge, her quill shaky after a day of fending off British tax collectors. The air's buzzing with the clink of pewter, the rustle of paper, and the distant boom of cannons. Revolutionary War letters, per the France's Tavern Museum, show love surviving the fight for independence, with couples like those in the archives holding on through hell. Let's dive into this rebellious romance, letting the flicker of a candle, the scent of ink, and their heartfelt words make you chuckle as you sink toward sleep. Revolutionary separations lasted years, but love endured via letters carried by risky post. A wife might write, "Miss you like I miss tea without taxes," her words earnest, the air thick with the scratch of quills and the smell of wax. The husband, reading it, probably muttered, "Nice line, but who's chopping the wood?" Delivery was perilous. Postmen dodged redcoats, the air tense with the clink of mail bags and the hope of safe arrival. Life around this was rebellious. Homes hummed with tailies of absent loved ones, the air heavy with the thud of spinning wheels and the scent of wool. Husbands at camp shared photos or tokens, their hands steady, the air warm with the rustle of paper and the effort of keeping morale. Neighbors sharing rations, swapped letters, the air thick with the smell of corn and the kind of laughter you get when love's a revolutionary act. The community loved the drama, snickering over cider about a wife's heart aches more than her empty pantry. Their love was a rebellion, and as the cabin fades, let's shift to a final reflection, tying these loves together with a smirk. Picture yourself now, not in a trench or a candlelit medieval hut, but in your own familiar room, perhaps with the hum of a fridge or the distant buzz of a phone, replacing the flicker of torches and the clink of swords. We live in an age where distance is supposed to be smaller, where a single tap on a screen can bring a voice, a face, or even a live view of a loved one oceans away. And yet, the stories of love during war and separation in the past remind us that the ache of absence, the weight of waiting, and the peculiar ways people fill that gap have not disappeared. They've simply changed their tools, their textures, their tempos. In Sumer, around 2000 BCE, love might have been carved in clay, each wedge-shaped mark pressed carefully with a reed stylus. The message was weighty literally. Today we send hearts, emojis, entire paragraphs in seconds. But if you pause and think, the essence is the same. A soldier then wanted his wife to know he was alive. He missed her. He cared for her. A couple now, separated by deployment or migration, taps out a "still here, miss you" text under fluorescent light. One scratches clay. One taps glass. But both hearts beat to the same rhythm of longing. Move forward to Greece and its warriors, where odes and poetry mixed battlefield grit with lofty verses. The stylus scratched out dramatic lines, comparing love to Achilles' heel or Hector's courage. Today, our version might be a clumsy Instagram poem, a late-night message written in the fog of exhaustion, or even a carefully chosen song lyric set across the ether. We like to imagine we've become more casual, less poetic, but in reality, many couples still slip into dramatic metaphors when apart. Lovers still compare absence to storms, waiting to deserts, kisses to fires. The metaphors update, the platforms change, but the emotional need to turn pain into poetry is just as strong. When Roman legions marched, love letters were carried by couriers who risked their lives to deliver small tablets of wax and words. Some made it, some didn't. The uncertainty of whether a message would ever arrive must have gnawed at those left behind. Today, emails, calls, and messages can vanish too into the void of lost Wi-Fi, locked connections, or delayed networks. We assume communication is instant, but anyone who has waited for a message that doesn't come knows the same ache as a Roman wife staring at an empty road. Technology has made connection easier, but has not abolished absence. It has only modernized the silence. The Crusaders left wives behind for years, promising to conquer Jerusalem but really leaving women to run estates, tend children, and fend off neighbors. Letters trickled back with tales of conquest and piety. Wives, practical as ever, responded with, "That's nice, but who's handling the harvest?" Today, military spouses or partners of those working abroad still juggle households, jobs, children, and loneliness while their partners are away. The excuses change. "I'm busy with the campaign" becomes "I'm stuck in meetings," or "the connection is bad," but the emotional division of labor is strikingly similar. One goes off chasing missions or careers, the other shoulders the weight of daily life, waiting, waiting, waiting. During the Renaissance, plagues separated couples. Quarantine, death, and fear meant letters were often the only tether. Sound familiar? During our own recent pandemic, couples were separated by lockdowns, borders, and hospitals. Lovers waved through glass, texted from separate apartments, or leaned on video calls that froze just as someone was crying. In 1450 Florence, Caterina might have written with quill and ink, "My love, the plague is everywhere, but my heart is with you." In 2020, one might have typed, "I can't wait until this is over, but I love you." Across 600 years, the words change, but the structure remains: distance imposed by disease, hearts bound by persistence. In the American Revolution, wives in cabins wrote letters about red coats and rations, scribbling by candlelight. Today, partners in conflict zones, or even those separated by migration laws, write emails about visas, costs, and bureaucracy. A revolutionary wife might have muttered, "Nice words, but who's chopping wood?" A modern partner might sigh, "Nice text, but who's doing the laundry?" The humor, the irritation, the grounded reality of life continues. Love cannot be separated from chores, survival, and the small domestic irritations that remind us life is never only about grand causes, it is always about the dishes too. Civil War letters, often scratched on cheap paper with quills, drip with sentiment, nostalgia, and longing. Soldiers wrote of missing their wives, their children, even their pets. In an era before photographs were widely available, words painted the only picture. Today we share selfies, voice notes, short videos, but the intention is the same: to bring the self closer to the absent beloved. A Civil War soldier wrote, "I miss your face more than bread." A modern soldier might send a quick blurry photo at 2 a.m. with "Wish you were here." The tools improve, but the ache doesn't. WWII trenches were soaked in mud, rats, and gunpowder. Soldiers wrote in cramped handwriting, their letters censored, every word weighed. Today, distance is filled with texts that may be read by algorithms, flagged by governments, or simply lost in the chatter of apps. As censorship continues, though less obvious, soldiers then had censors scratching out sensitive lines. Today, couples might censor themselves, aware that digital messages aren't truly private. Whether it's 1916 or 2025, there is always a shadow of watchfulness that shapes how people write love when apart. World War II rationing forced lovers to joke about missing sugar, bread, or coal. The absence of material comforts was woven into romance. Today, couples still weave economics into affection. The language shifts. "I miss sugar" becomes "I can't afford data for a call," or "I wish I could fly out, but flights are too expensive." Scarcity, whether of sugar or bandwidth, continues to thread itself into love letters. Love never exists in a vacuum. It always shares space with markets, rations, shortages, and compromises. The Holocaust reveals the darkest parallel. Couples like Helen Spitzer and David Wisnia risked everything for stolen moments. In a world of death camps, surveillance, and despair, their whispers were acts of rebellion. Today, in places of oppression, surveillance, or authoritarian rule, couples still risk messages, still whisper under censorship, still carve out love in shadows. The stakes are different, but the bravery is the same. Love is dangerous under tyranny, whether in a camp or a monitored digital space. As we reflect, what stands out most is not the difference in tools, but the sameness of experience. The ache of waiting for a letter in Rome echoes the ache of waiting for a text reply today. The humor of a Crusader wife sighing over estates is the same as a modern spouse sighing over unpaid bills. The poetic dramatics of a Greek warrior are reborn in late-night text metaphors. The hope carried in a clay tablet is the same as the hope in an email. The laughter over shared letters then is the same as laughter over memes now. Even the role of communities remains constant. In Sumer, neighbors gossiped over tablets. In Civil War America, families gathered to read letters aloud. In World War II, communities shared letters and ration lines. Today, friends screenshot messages, share screenshots of "look what he wrote," or gather to giggle over texts. The social weaving of private love into public community has never gone away. Love is both intimate and communal, both whispered and shared. Technology changes the speed and texture, but it does not change the core experience. We still wait. We still hope. We still laugh. We still worry. We still write more than we think we will. We still edit ourselves. We still hold on to scraps of affection like they're lifelines. And in many ways, the abundance of instant connection today only highlights the same timeless tension. When the person we want isn't here, no amount of technology can erase that gap. The heart still waits, just as it did in your Sparta, Rome, or Virginia. If anything, our world today has added layers of paradox. On one hand, it is easier than ever to see a face instantly, to send a message across oceans, to hear a voice. On the other, this ease sometimes makes absence sharper, because we know connection is possible, but not always granted. The soldier in Gaul might wait months, resigned. The modern partner may wait minutes, but each passing hour feels unbearable. The faster the technology, the heavier the silence when it fails. We might imagine that ancient couples had more patience, more endurance, but perhaps they simply had fewer illusions of speed. Today, our hearts race with expectation. When a message doesn't arrive, it feels catastrophic. In that way, our modern love under separation is both easier and harder. The tools improve. The heart does not. So what is the comparison to today's world? It is the revelation that love has always been stubborn. It refuses to die, even in war, even in famine, even in plague. It adapts, it jokes, it suffers, it waits. It turns clay into letters, ink into whispers, ration books into jokes, texts into lifelines. Whether in Ur or Ukraine, in Gaul or Gaza, in Valley Forge or a migrant hostel, love insists on survival. The names change, the enemies change, the technologies change, but the script does not. The quill and the emoji serve the same purpose: to carry the human heart across absence. So as you lie in your own bed now, perhaps hearing the hum of a fan or the tick of a clock, you can smile at the absurdity and beauty of this continuity. You are not so far from the Sumerian scribe, the Roman wife, the Civil War spouse, the World War II sweetheart. Where are you? Text, your miss you, call, your blurry photo in the dark, they are all part of this great river of human stubbornness. Love refuses to be extinguished. It always writes, always waits, always laughs, even when the world is falling apart. And perhaps that is why these old stories still soothe us today. They are not just curiosities of history. They are mirrors. They tell us that our longing, our waiting, our jokes, our impatience are ancient. They connect us across centuries, reassuring us that if love could survive clay, conquest, plague, ration, and camp, it can survive Wi-Fi drops and long-distance calls. The tools change. The heart does not. And in that timeless stubbornness, we find comfort. As the hum of war-torn love fades, the clink of bayonets, the rustle of parchment, the scent of smoke and slightly burnt stew, let your mind flop into the quiet, like a soldier after a long march. We've wandered through the loves that survived history's battles, from Sumerian scribbles to World War II whispers, each a testament to passion's stubborn grip on chaos. Their world was a whirlwind of cannon fire, ration stamps, and hope you're not dead notes. Yet it was also a place where couples clung to each other with grit, wit, and a whole lot of right soon. Picture yourself now tucked into a soft bed, the air still and the madness of their time far away, their whispers a distant chuckle. These loves, bold and battered, remind us that even in history's worst storms, hearts keep beating with a cheeky, "We got this." Let the details slip away like a letter lost in the post. The smoky trenches, the dusty battlefields, the taste of rationed bread and desperate wine, they fade into the background, leaving only the peace of this moment and a lingering smirk. You've journeyed through a world where love was a wartime warrior, its couples, steadfast quills, and hopeful hearts keeping its story alive. Now it's time to rest, to let go of the historical hubbub and sink into calm. Close your eyes, if you haven't already, and let the gentle absurdity of history lull you into sleep, safe in the silliness of now.